Good morning. It's been a couple days since we last worked on the engine. Life happens, things pop up, so getting back out there now. But I wanted to share something with you that I found, and involves my lifter trays. So actually was doing a little off-camera work and installing those lifters, and one of my lifter trays actually was defective. So I'm going to show you basically how to test to make sure that your lifter trays are good to be reused, because it's crucial. If they are wore out or damaged in any way and you decide to reuse those, you can do a lot of damage to your camshaft. The actual lifter can rotate in the bore, and within a very short amount of time, probably before your first oil change, you're going to be looking at probably a total loss at that point. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about, and you'll just be sure that you're looking out for this when you're using your lifter trays. Now this is just for demonstration purposes. So these lifters are from the original engine when I tore it apart, so they're dirty and everything like that. So you may already be able to kind of tell what the issue is with this. If you rock it back and forth, you can probably see the offender. What you want to do to make sure that your lifter trays are good is basically put it in there and do the blizzard test from Dairy Queen. So remember back in the day, you'd go there, get a blizzard, and they'd flip it upside down. Not good, right? So the reason for that is this cup is actually damaged. And let me show you. So when this lifter's actually in there, you can rotate. Now it's not very much right now, it's probably only a degree or two, but it doesn't take much to start eating into the side lobe. And once you start doing that, you get a lot of metal shavings going through your engines. It goes into your bearings, and well, the rest is history after that. So just be mindful of that when you're inspecting these trays. It's crucial that it stands up to the blizzard test. So let me show you what a good brand new lifter tray will look like when you do the same test. So when you're doing this test with good lifter trays, it's actually going to be pretty difficult to get these lifters in there because they pinch so tightly on them. There's very minimal movement, if any at all, and that's really what you're looking for. And these things really got to be in there good. You don't want to see any movement. Again, this is a brand new tray, and this is exactly what you want to see. No movement at all. That's how it's got to be when you put it in. Now you can see I've actually been doing some work off camera like I mentioned earlier, so I've actually got the studs in the one side. It's a little boring, so I didn't really want to show you guys because frankly that took about an hour and a half to do. So you got to clean up the threads real good, got to get a thread chaser, run that through the threads over and over again. It's really crucial again to make sure that there isn't any antifreeze or oil in the bottoms of the head studs. If there is, you're going to get a hydrolock situation, and when that happens, you're probably going to break your block, and you don't want to go this far to have to start over. So be really careful, get an air compressor, blow a lot of air in there, make sure you get them all out, even flip the block over, let some of it run out naturally, but be very careful on that. And then you just want to use ultra torque lubrication, which is from ARP on these, and it will give you a truer, quicker, easier time when you have to go and torque them down. So definitely be mindful of that and use that stuff. It's cheap, and they don't recommend motor oil for a couple different reasons, but just get the torque lube. It's a lot easier. I do have the lifters in as well. They again were pretty easy to install. I would have had them done, but I did have that defective tray. So I'm going to show you guys basically how to put those in. If you do have any questions, if you've never done it before, sometimes putting them in can be a little tricky, but again, you just want to make sure that you're using a lot of the Lucas products on it so that you can effectively cut down on the wear when you first start it up. I'm going to pre-pressurize this engine with oil before I do start it, but you want all the insurance you can get, honestly. So I'll show you how to put that lifter tray in there, and then we're going to put that oil pump on today in the pan, and we'll see how far we can get on some other stuff too. Alright, so we got our lifter tray here. Again, doing the Dairy Queen Blizzard test. They're in there rock solid, so I feel pretty confident that these are not going to move. And we're going to put a bunch of assembly lube on there. Don't want to take any chances. And really, just want to start up here. Make sure you get a bunch of it here. Enough so it kind of goes over the edge. And that will be used to make it a little bit easier to get down into the lifter bore. Okay, and I got my old bolt in here, we'll take that out. You do want to use some Loctite on these as well. And then, in they go. These are oriented. There is a couple spots in the block where these lifter trays have to go in only one way, so be mindful of that. And then you just kind of ease them into place. All right. And then just a little Loctite on the bolt. And then you just want to tighten up this bolt. I'm sure it does have a torque rating, but I'm just going to get it tight, let the Loctite do its job. And that's about tight enough. Alright, so the next thing I'm actually going to be putting on is the oil pump so that we can get the pickup and the oil pan on this engine and get that buttoned up. I actually was going to reuse the original pump, poured it out, and I was going to go that route. Once I pulled the engine apart and saw the condition of the original oil pump, it looked like it had some pretty good mileage on it and some pretty good wear as well. I actually decided to replace it, and the oil pumps can be pretty expensive, but there's actually a good alternative to buying the Mellings, and that's buying the Summit. And in essence, what you're doing is you're actually getting a Mellings oil pump. It's even the M295. What is the difference between this and the regular Mellings one? I couldn't tell you, honestly, but this is a slightly higher volume, higher pressure as well. These are supposedly shimmed already, so you don't have to pull these apart. You can port them, but just in stock trim, they do pretty well. And so I'm just going to throw it on as is. Now, there's also a lot of confusion out there about how to install these pumps. Some people say you have to shim them, and you know, I don't have the shims, honestly. And if you look at how the factory puts these on, they don't shim them. They just put them on there. So I think the best way to do this, if you want to shim it, go ahead. But honestly, I think the best way that I've read to do it is to actually put the pump on there, get it kind of finger tight with the bolts, rotate the engine around a couple times, and that usually will center it. Again, it's not quite shimming it, which is maybe the best way to do it, but it's certainly better than the factory did when they just slapped it on there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you how to do that. Little thread locker on these. Get them tightened up a little bit, hand tight.
I'm blowing some bubbles.
You're blowing bubbles? It's such a beautiful day. Alright, then just a couple revolutions. Make sure it's back at top dead center. And then we're going to go ahead and torque these bolts down. And then we're just going to torque these down. Simple as that. Next thing we're going to do is put the pickup tube in and get that oil pan on there. Show you a couple little tricks that we can do to make sure this thing's not going to leak on us. Alright, well I got that tray off of there. Got the pickup tube installed here, just about ready to tighten it up. I did use the green rubber washer in the pump. There's a black one which is a little thinner, and the green one which is a little thicker. So you probably want to go with that one if you can get it in there, because it's going to be a little tighter, and hopefully it'll keep you from having any oil pressure issues in the future. With that black one being a little looser, I mean, it could possibly lead to some problems down the road. So use that green one if you can. Alright, so that's pretty firmly installed in there now. I already cleaned up the surface here a little bit. I hit it with some carb cleaner and some brake cleaner, and it's pretty good now. I already scraped it off with a razor blade. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that gasket on there with a little RTV, and then we'll get the pan on there. So what we're going to do today, we're going to cut down our factory truck windage tray, and we're actually going to reinstall it in the engine. I'm going to show you how to do that with basically just a hacksaw. You can do it with a sawzall, you can do it with a grinder. It's super easy. So let's take a look right now. Alright, so making some progress here. This is the front of the pan here, and I'm just, again, using a hacksaw. If you got a sawzall or a grinder, this is going to be real easy. But basically, this is the back, this is the front, and you need to trim 1/4 of the windage tray off. And you want to do it right after this fourth set of bolts. And you just cut it right across. My hacksaw, obviously, is not going to be able to cut through it all. I'm going to kind of hit the top of the bar. So I went 1/3 of the way, and then I just cut it down here and clear up that. And then I'm going to do a very similar thing right here, where I'll cut it right across here and cut it down here, and basically cut this middle section out, and then cut this last portion off here. I'll probably hit it with a file just to take some of the loose stuff off, and it's going to be ready to be installed. Well, here we are. Here's our F-body windage tray we made out of a truck pan. Easy as that. Just cut her down. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just got to be slightly after these bolt holes. And got a little engine degreaser on this. Just going to clean it up a little bit. And it's about as easy as that. You want to make sure you get all the crud off of this. This is going to get go back inside the engine, obviously. So get all the loose stuff, get all the big stuff. Just clean her up a little. Real easy. Cleaning is not always the most fun, but of course it's necessary, right? Now you can see the cut down windage tray is actually going to clear everything, and actually it makes it to the second counterweight about halfway through, so if you want to use that as a guide to cut it down, go ahead. But this is really the best way to do it, and it's the cheapest way. If you've got a hacksaw, which you probably got lying around somewhere, you can chop this thing down, no problem. Install it, and you're good to go. Alright, so I got a little bit of a close-up here for you, and this is what a lot of people call a T-junction in the industry, I believe. And basically this is where parts come together. 3 parts actually come together in this spot right here. You got the block, the rear cover, and then the oil pan will obviously sit here. So this is where you want to put RTV. Same thing on the other side, and same thing on the front of the block as well. So right here is really a crucial spot, and you can see there was quite a bit there. when I took the engine apart, and there was a bead along the back cover as well. I'm not going to put that bead on there right now because I'm going to take this rear cover off and this flywheel, and I'm going to be replacing that seal, that rear main seal. And again, I'm going to show you how to do that probably in the last video that we do on this engine, before we get it probably on the engine stand and running. So that's going to be very exciting. So I'm going to put some RTV here, the other side, front, not on the cover, and then we're going to put that gasket in there. Just for reference, I'm using the Ultra Black from Permatex. It's a gasket maker. This one is oil resistant, so that's crucial. You want to make sure you get the right stuff so that it can live in an oil environment and not cause an issue where it balls up and possibly plugs up your pickup tube. That's no fun. Again, I'm just putting a very small amount here. And I'll move that around. There wasn't very much on this engine when I took it off, so I'm going to go ahead and put that roughly the same amount on. Let me just start by putting a couple bolts in here. Get this gasket centered. It's Oberon season, which means it's also baseball season, which reminds me the game's about to get on here, so that's what we're going to be doing for today. Got the pan on, the pump on, got the pickup in there. I'm probably going to get those head studs in here very shortly, and next video we're going to be buttoning this thing back up finally, so looking forward to it. Got the Terminator X Max on the way. I actually just purchased that a couple days ago, so it was back ordered. When it does get here, I'll probably go over that a little bit as well. I know there's a lot of videos out there about it already, but I plan on firing this up on an engine stand, and I want to show you guys how to do that as well. So probably won't be this engine stand. It probably will be something that's 4-post, something like that, where it's going to be a little bit easier to manage it. And I just want to hear this thing bark to life, and we'll pressurize the oil system, get some oil in this thing. I'm looking forward to doing that here in the next month or so. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, definitely. And again, tell me what you guys are building out there, because it's a lot of fun putting these together. And I'll see you next time.